questions. Does anybody have any questions?
They'll give you creative freedom, and then I'll do the video, and they'll be like, oh, well, actually, I wanted it to be 2 minutes, not 5. Well, that's not something you expressed to me at the beginning. How do I say, well, no, I don't want to cut out everybody's work? Like, the last thing I filmed, there was 7 performers. She wanted me to cut out all the performers and keep her dancing at the beginning. Like, how do I say that? Ridiculous.
I can tell you one way. There's a phrase, I have a lot of friends who are actors, right? And there's a phrase in acting. How many of you act? Any actors in here? There you go. You ever hear the phrase bite and beam? You know what that is? You're going to learn this one. Bite and beam is the hardest thing an actor can ever do. If you're ever lucky enough to get a commercial where you have to eat food, you have to smile while you're doing it. Try eating food and smiling. What actors call that is called bite and beaming. Trying to chew and smile at the same time. Which means, my personal belief of that is the object of, to me, of showing that you want to keep succeeding in the business is never sitting there and going, dude, you told me, you never told me you wanted 2 minutes. You sit there and go, piece of cake. You bite the beam.
Hello, my name is Sarah Gavani. I'm a sophomore TV digital cinema major, and I wanted to ask what piece of advice would you give people our age for getting into the industry?
For being what?
What was the last one?
Into the industry.
Into the industry, yes.
On time is late. Be a half an hour early.
Yeah, the thing, it sounds really like an easy thing and like a, a buzzword thing, but like what I always tell people your age is, if you just want to get into the business, don't. Go somewhere else. If you need to be in this business and that's you and you need to do it, do it. And you will eventually succeed. You'll get knocked to the ground 100 times. But you just, I know it sounds so stupid, but you really just have to get up and keep knocking at doors. And a lot of people, when they get into the business, they think things are going to come, and if they chase that one avenue, that'll open up things. I mean, even now, I've been doing this 30 years, and when I have a day off, there's at least a few hours of that day. I mean, I am networking, I am chasing leads, I am looking at different, you really have to need it. And I think, even though it sounds, like I said, it sounds silly, I think if you really, really have to need it, and you really work for it, you will, to some degree, get where you want to be in the industry. I mean, I know that sounds really simple, but it ain't. It takes a lot of work.
I think you need to, number one is always remember, especially in this industry, you're your own company, if you want to look at it that way, where you're your best advocate. If you're a filmmaker, you're your camera, your director, your marketing, you're the accountant, you're the janitor, you're everything. Which also means if you're going to work for someone, make sure that you're receptive to everything, and at the same time, do your homework ahead of time, because nobody's going to micromanage you, and you only get one chance of making that first impression. We've heard that a million times. Well, it's really true, because the competition for all these jobs is unbelievably challenging. So make a great first impression, and you'll be surprised how far that goes. And the last thing is networking. Man, I'll tell you what, the words cannot express how big networking is, for sure.
Everybody knows everyone else, and be very careful what you say.
Absolutely.
I watched somebody put their foot so far down their mouth the other day they almost choked it out. Yeah, you have to be really careful to keep yourself in check. Because it can serve you very well, and it can completely destroy you.
Yeah, definitely. You have to make sure you have passion for it. It's, as you've heard before, it just consumes your life, so you don't want it to feel like work. It's like your life's mission. Somebody else said, so if you just go into it with gusto and work as hard as you can, it happens.
And just real quick, little things can lead to much bigger jobs than you would ever imagine. I mean, I've gotten calls, hey, can you come in for 2 days? And then 8 months later, I'm still on that gig. I mean, I've canceled vacations and come home, and now it's at the point where I'm not going to do that, and I'll get home. But especially when you're starting, it's unbelievably it's unbelievable how the little things will lead to bigger things, even if it's, you just meet that person, that woman, that man, that, hey, that next time, that one kid came in for those 2 days, and they were great. But little jobs can just spread in a million ways as well, so, yeah, just go get them.
And there is no one path. When you say that arbitrarily, like, you know, I like sort of did a formal path where I went to AFI and spent all this money on education, and then there are other people who are just as good and talented, and they just work their way up. So, you know, as long as you have that passion, you should be able to do it.
It won't happen overnight for a lot of you. It'll be frustrating, and some people walk right in, and other people look at them and go, geez, you know? And I've watched people just beat at it for years, and eventually one day it happens because they were persistent. You know, don't get frustrated or discouraged, just keep going.
Let's take a few more questions. How about over here? Yes, that man right there. Hey.
And how do you know when you have a story where you're like, this has to be seen by people? You know what I mean? Like, this deserves to be shared.
It's like a spigot that never goes the other way. So once you start writing, I bet you, like, every day you start getting like, oh, that'd make a great movie. Oh, that'd make a great TV show. It happens to all of you. That doesn't go the other way. And you just keep getting more and more as life goes on. It's the most bizarre thing. It also ruins watching a lot of stuff on TV and movies. But the best way, you know what? It's interesting. You got to trust your gut. You can't write for someone else. Right? You'll get notes if you're lucky enough that it gets picked up from someone, and they'll craft it and hone it with you. But just keep asking yourself as you write. I call it the why equation, W-H-Y. And what that means is when I'm writing, to make sure that everything's cohesive, I always ask at the end of the sentence, at the end of everything, well, why did he say that? And then you'll answer because of this. Well, then that's going to lead to another why. And I do that all the time as I write through the script. And what that does is it starts really kind of boiling it down to the story I want to tell. And if you really know your story, and people go, well, I need my voice. You have to have your voice. You ever hear that crap? Like you got to have, have a voice. And what that means to me, because it means something to everybody that's different, is that I put myself, writing is very cathartic for me. Extremely cathartic. I'll sit there and start weeping like a baby or laughing out loud. And I put myself in all the characters' shoes. And once I understand who that character is, then I just put myself in how I would react in that situation. And then if you have that, it's an honest script, and it's boiled down, then you're good to go. Thank you. You're welcome.
Nice. You right here, Eli.
Greg, did you say that you went to USC for sculpture or
Yeah, it was architecture.
architecture? How much has that helped you in being a production designer?
It's helped a lot. I was sort of curious, are there any people in here interested in production design? It's always usually screenwriting too. That's about the correct.
I'm actually a screenwriter.
Nobody's interested in being a
You know, you need to be an observer. That's like the biggest thing. I wouldn't say that you necessarily need to go to architecture school, but it certainly helped me. And it was, I think you have to love a bunch of things in film, whether you're a screenwriter or a director or whatever. You have to be an observer, and you have to love history. You know, films take place all over at various times. You have to be interested in anthropology. So if you're a very curious person, that's what you need to know. Now, there's a whole set of technical skills that come with that. If you were to go to school for it, I'd recommend, you need to know how to draft, you need to know how to 3D model, because there's a lot of technical stuff to build sets and understand visual effects and the structure and how that stuff's put together. So don't need architecture, but you should have a couple history classes, history of architecture, history of everything, history of art.
Thank you.
Next question, in the purple.
Hi, Dan.
And so, with your writing process, what was it when you were first starting out, and how has it evolved to today?
Oh, I read the stuff that I wrote when I first started out, and of course I laugh out loud. It's from all the input, again, working with professionals, and when I say professionals, I don't mean other writers. I mean from set design to you name it, because their perspective is completely different than mine, and they'll open my eyes to something. And I think that's really important because as the more people and more experience that you bring in, you can start honing what you write. Because when you start out writing, I know when I was younger, I would write about stuff that was almost based on my immediate world around me. And I was limited in my skill to write in a bigger scope. And I think what meeting other people and hearing what they think and feel added to my ability to write a lot of different things. My mentor, one of my mentors said the one thing to me that helped out the most in Hollywood, know what you do. So if you're a biopic writer, which that's my primary thing is a biopic thing, get known for that. And if you're known for that, then that allows you to expand later on. But don't sit there and go, I write this and I write that. Trust you, just get your thing that you do and perfect it. Simple as that.
Next up, is you, sir. Yes.
William Tate, and I was wondering, how do y'all get like self-motivation for like rejection, like earlier in your careers? Like what like self-motivates you to like keep pushing through? Because you said you kept getting knocked down.
Yeah, these sound like such easy answers, but it's just that, like, once, like I said, just personally, I pursued 2 different careers, and I never found them satisfying. And, you know, when I went in and quit the engineering job, and this very nice guy that was my boss said, "You're out of your mind. You're going to be making decent coin down the line. You should stay doing this." And he was very fun. I'm giving you good advice. And I just, once I got the chance to get into it, I had to do it. I mean, again, I keep saying this, but because I know it sounds so easy, but I mean, like, I had to do it. And whatever it took to do, I did, you know, especially when I was getting in. I did everything I could and just kept my eyes open. I mean, once you get that chance, like, really absorb everything around you. It's really easy when you get in the business to start and just be like, kind of, wow, cool, look at that, and look at this. Like, suck it in, and you just have to keep picking yourself back up and knocking on the door. I don't have any other answer. I'm sure these people might. About you just have to keep doing it because you know you want to do it. So there's no choice. I mean, there's just no other choice than keep going. But
Changing your perspective too helps a little bit. Rather than taking it as a blow, take it as an opportunity to say, okay, why did they get the job and I didn't? What can I do to improve that whole? And use it as a, okay, I didn't get it. I mean, yeah, I think taking it and using it, putting it in your arsenal instead of using it as something you're tripping over, I think it helps a lot.
Well, you're all very fortunate because Pittsburgh's a great film production center. Like, I worked in LA for like 14 years and moved back here because there was actually more film work because LA is now mostly television. So, you know, that's a great thing.
Want to shoot here? If you guys want to work more, call your legislators and tell them to support the tax credit.
Absolutely. Well, on behalf of the Media Educators Group, thank you guys so much for coming here and sharing